Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we'll be talking about Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 10, Episode 5.
I'm not going to hold you. Tisha wore me out this episode. I ain't going to lie to y'all. She wore me out. Subscribe, like, share, comment, all the above. You ready, Blair?
I'm ready.
Walk us through this episode, please.
Nell visits Lance at his house.
Yep.
She's checking in with him since he is holding down the fort, being a single dad. Lance says that he has 3 kids, but he's not used to everything being on him. He's having to stay up late nights with the baby and then waking up early to go to work. Nell asks if it would be helpful if she was to get the baby 2 times a week, and he says that he really doesn't want to mess up the baby's like comfortability and schedule because she's pretty attached to him. So Nell then offers to stay at his house for a couple of days, and that is something that would be helpful, but he recommends that she talk to Chris about it first. Nell felt like, I've been through a lot in our marriage. This is something small. If I want to help you, then that's something that I can do. Nell shares that Destiny reached out to her and said to her that you could have told me about the baby. Nell didn't feel like she owed Destiny anything. Destiny was also flirting with her godson, so she really didn't even know how serious Lance and Destiny were. Lance doesn't think he owes her an explanation, but he does think he owes her a conversation to answer any questions she might have. And Destiny made it clear to him that she wasn't looking for anything serious anyway.
What are your thoughts on this scene right here, Blair? Because I have questions.
Yeah. I guess one of my major questions is, where is the mom? And are you being like a full-time dad because like you have the baby half of the week and then she has the baby the other half? Or are you, because Nell was talking, because he said something about 4 days, and then Nell was saying that she could help out 2 days. So
she said 2 to 3.
2 to 3. So it doesn't sound like, from what I'm hearing, that he has the baby every single day. But the days that he has the baby is a lot, which makes sense because it's the baby. And I would kind of want to reserve some of my thoughts for when we have the conversation with Chris. But I do think that it is great to have the support system when you are dealing with changes in life. But I also think that when you make certain decisions and you have to, it's one thing if you go into a situation and you're with the person and you guys split up. It's another thing when you go into a situation knowing that you guys really aren't solid or together. Knowing that if you have a child, like, this is pretty much going to be the outcome. So I'm not really feeling too empathetic towards Lance at the moment, because I feel like as an adult, this is a choice that you made and you are fathering your child pretty much. And then the other part of the conversation with him and Destiny, I as well didn't really know how serious he was with Destiny. But if you guys were as cool and went out, and hung out with each other, then I feel like he should have told her he had a child on the way. If they were dating, even if it was casual. I mean, why would you hide that, So
yeah, I feel like if we want to just talk about Destiny just for 2 seconds, I feel like Destiny is a very unserious person. She keeps finding herself in these unserious situations and things of that nature. And I'm not even talking about her last marriage and things like that. Things happen in a marriage, and I'm not, and I'm giving her bail out of jail for that one. But everything else, Destiny just comes off as someone that's just like, what, why you keep finding yourself in these unserious situations? That's on you. When it comes to Lance, right? One thing that I want to point out, and I'm going to reserve some things for when he talks to Chris as well too, right? Chris said that he's a business owner. He's a businessman, right? And basically he have to be on site by 6 a.m. sometimes, and basically getting the baby ready and basically, not getting enough sleep is hard for him. And I'm just like, listen here, I understand that a lot of people want to pat their backs on being an entrepreneur and people want to pat their backs on getting an LLC, but I just want to let people know right now that everyone who's watching me, we are all entrepreneurs of our lives. Right? You are the owner of every decision that you make in your life, right? You have to be accountable for every decision and everything that happens to you in your life, right? Now, Blair, I'm a little confused. When he said that he has 3 kids, was he including the new kid, or was he saying he had 3 kids and the new kid?
I think he was including the new child. So 3 in total.
So let's say 3, right? Hopefully not 4, right? So part of being a businessman or a smart one is, hey, how about I stop, spreading my seed everywhere? How about I get serious with one person? Because what happens is it's all fun and games until, guess what, you're tired at 2 o'clock in the morning because you got to basically change the baby, you know, the baby teething from what he tell us in the episode and things of that nature. And now you a grown man got your mother over here basically taking her away from her marital home. Yeah. Right. And what I didn't like in Nell's conversation, which I'm going to touch on when we get to Chris part, is basically when Lance basically told you, hey, I think you should bring that up with Chris about staying here 2 to 3 days. You totally like threw like that opinion to the side and be like, oh no, if I want to stay here and take care of like my kid, we've been through things in our marriage. We've been through cheating. We've been through all these things. This shouldn't be an issue. But you were just complaining a couple seasons ago about boundaries. So now it's almost like you complain, your whole attitude is different and your whole mood is different. But when it comes down to actually setting boundaries, you actually chose to not actually check in with Chris, your husband. I have a big problem with basically, especially when you're married. Hey, if I want to do something, I'm going to check in with my wife. If my wife want to do something, she go check in with me. So I found that very off-putting, as well as Lance. You have to take some accountability. I kind of find it hard for me to feel any empathy when you are basically a father. Like you're, everything you said that's going on is nothing out of the norm. This is what parents go through. The only thing about it is most of the time you hope that it's with one person, hopefully your wife or husband, that y'all have each other to lean on. You know what I mean? But let's keep going.
Kimmi, Destiny, and Tisha meet up. Yep. Tisha tells Tisha told Marsau that she thinks that Black is his house because he's always there. He comes home to shower and then he heads right back out to Black.
Yeah.
Destiny apologizes for missing Kimmi's dinner. She had a TikTok live she had to do and it went very well.
Okay.
Kimmi fills Destiny in on the situation with Nell, asking Tisha about the whole interview of how it went with Martel. And Kimmi said that Tisha already said everything she had to say in whatever live that she did. And what's her name? Kimmi also feels like being transparent is sharing things that you're not necessarily asked. Tisha, well, before we get into Trish's party, any thoughts on that portion?
Yeah, I find it very interesting. There's a lot of rumors and things of that nature, and I don't stay in the hot topics when it comes to this type of show, or any type of show, to be honest. But Marsau is not home a lot, and it seems like it's by choice. You get what I'm saying? It seems like he works, then he comes home to change or to shower, then to go right back out, right? That he lives at Black. And to me, it's sounding like he don't like being home. Like, even when he was talking about renovating a house or building a house or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, a couple seasons ago, he was talking about how, like, if he wants to, he go stay and sleep at the house that he's renovating besides coming home and things like that. So it just seems like he don't really like being at home, and I wonder why. You get what I'm saying? Maybe Tisha wearing him thin the way that she wore me thin this episode. I don't know.
Yeah. I was wondering to myself, like, what is up with Tisha's energy this season?
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think that there's a lot of cracks going on. I think number one, she lost her cousin,
R.I.P.,
which is definitely a hard hit. It sounds like Marsau, there's some marital things going on that they will not touch on, or maybe they will. I don't really know what they're going to decide to do when it comes to that, but the fact that he's not home, I'm sure that can be a point of contention. The fact that the stuff that they, like, she wanted to get her office built up, she also wanted to get her home built, and certain things just are not gelling and coming together. And I'm starting to believe that Tisha is just having a hard time right now, and I feel like she's lashing out. And I think that there's fairness in her frustration, but I think her frustration is directed at the wrong people.
Yeah, it is.
I think that she needs to communicate with her husband and get on the same page instead of allowing him to give her, his one or two liners and say that this is as far as he's going to do with his explanation, and she needs to not let other people bother her. No, Tisha, if you have an issue, if you have questions, if you feel like things aren't clear to you, then press your husband about it. If he's not going to answer, take him to therapy. I think that she's directing her frustrations to the wrong people.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. With that opinion right there, I like it.
Yeah, so Tisha was in Chris's face at Trish's party. In the confessional, she said, why are they talking about people's marriages? She thinks marriage and kids should be off limits. And she also says that, in the scene, Tisha says that we should stay away from kids and marriage, but in the confessional she talks about how the Fletcher's relationship is easily breakable.
Okay.
And that was another thing to me. So I'm just like, so what are you actually standing on right now?
I don't know.
What it's not aligned, you know.
Keep going.
Destiny ended up bringing up Martel, and Tisha just ejected from the conversation.
Yeah.
Kimmi explained, you know, just being in the middle of this situation with Martel and Tisha, like, how do you think this actually looks for you, Destiny? Destiny says that she's not in the middle. She wouldn't know these ladies without Martel, which makes it difficult for her. She doesn't agree with everything that he does, and she does hold him accountable for the dumb things that he does.
Okay.
In that conversation, she ended up bringing up Lance, and Destiny hasn't talked to Lance since the was it the baby situation or sometime?
It was something in LA or something like that.
Yeah, the reunion.
Yeah.
So she talks about how she did run into him and he didn't even look at her. Destiny realized him moving weird a little bit before that, and Kimmi asked, oh, was that around the vow renewal? And Destiny explains, well, you're the reason he was acting weird at the vow renewal because you brought up that I was looking googly-eyed at some man. And Kimmi says, no, he was upset because you were looking googly-eyed at some man, not because I said anything about it. And pretty much Kimmi's point was that you could have shut it down in the moment of basically saying that you weren't looking at the man no type of way, but in the moment you said that you were single and you can do whatever you want, and Destiny doubles down and says that yes, I was single and I could have done whatever I wanted to, which she did.
And this is what I'm gonna talk about Destiny for 2 seconds again. Yes, you single. That's actual factual, but also what else is actual factual is that you keep finding yourself in these dumb situations. Like, just because you're single doesn't mean you could do dumb stuff. You get what I'm saying? So it just seems like Destiny, I think you should focus more on your business and focus on actual work and things like building that up than finding yourself in this type of mess.
Well, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
What do you mean she's like choosing dumb situations like that? She can't control the fact that he had a baby on.
I understand. Why are you talking to Lance in the first place?
Yeah.
Why? No, the real question, why are you talking to Lance in the first place? You already knew that Lance wasn't going to be serious with you. Based on his conversation and based off your conversation a little bit, it was kind of understood that, hey, we just messing around, that it wasn't going to be nothing serious. So why would you attach yourself to something that's not serious when you just came out of another situation with Moses, I think his name was.
Yeah.
So it's like, Destiny, it's like Destiny's trying to convince us that she's all about her business. That's why she missed the Kimmi dinner. But yet, when it comes down to it, like, I'm not really seeing you on top of your business. I'm finding you in these recreational type of like situations that you don't have to find yourself in.
Well, I guess for me, I think that I can't put 100% on Destiny because men will do wild things.
Of course.
And I think that when you're in the dating arena, there's a lot of wild things that can happen because people don't feel the need to disclose certain things because you guys aren't necessarily a couple or in a relationship.
That's fair.
So I think that being just in the dating world period can be very janky and ghetto.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Destiny, I agree with you in the fact that, look, if you're going to just be playing around and talking to people, then expect to be played around with.
Pretty much.
Like, you know, was it right that he didn't talk to you and have a conversation with you? That's not right, especially if y'all were on good terms and communicating.
Yeah.
Then yeah, that's not right. But at the same time, he owes you nothing at the end of the day. Even if you guys were friends or whatever the situation may have been, like, you guys weren't together, and if he was doing what he wanted as a single person, just like you feel like you could do what you want to do as a single person, then look, babies could happen.
Exactly. Also, I hope Carlos King talks to the cast. I know the show is already recorded, but I need Mr. King to talk to the cast, and I need him to relay the message to, especially Tisha, to the cast that, hey, a lot of people don't keep up with what's going on when it's off season for Love and Marriage Huntsville.
Right.
So a lot of these scenes and things of things of that nature where Tisha is ejecting herself out of the conversation to where we actually need some type of background to kind of give us some type of insight of what's going on. It's like you are really messing up the show. You are messing up the flow of the scene, because there's no.
I need her to partake in conversation.
So I don't understand the whole thing. I said what I said. No, you felt bold enough to say what you say on Carlos King's show. So say it on his other show, the show where you get paid to actually talk.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So I don't even understand Tisha's really I don't understand her ejecting herself from the whole Martell thing now when you chose to basically say something in person live on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, this is the show. This is the show to actually say something. Also, I don't know what her stance is when it comes to the Fleshers at all, to be honest. The show is called Love and Marriage, Huntsville. So I really don't understand this whole thing of like, oh, their marriage is easily breakable. It's like, Tisha, I agree with your stance. Tisha's going through a lot, but it seems like Tisha's always going through stuff. But this season, it just feels like times 10. It just feels like unwatchable, at least for me.
So Nell and Trish meet up.
Yeah.
They're kikiing basically over the fact that Tisha was doing the most. I will say that this scene was very awkward to me. You could tell these people do not hang out.
They don't.
But, I'm at least happy to see them getting together, holding a conversation. I guess that's the bare minimum I'm going to get. Tisha apparently likes to poke and make comments, and Nell feels a way about Tisha pointing in her husband's face.
Yes, she should.
Nell doesn't know about continuing to build a relationship with her, and she feels like she's dealing with an adult child. Trish thinks that she should have a heart-to-heart with Tisha.
Dude, you know who else feel like they're dealing with an adult child?
Who?
Marsau. That's what he said about his own wife. This ain't the first time he said it. He said it throughout basically this whole franchise. So I can see why Nell feels the way she feels. Like, basically, like, Tisha just feels, I feel like since Melody is gone, I don't know what it is that Tisha feels like now I'm stepping into that role to where I'm the main character. But
I don't even feel like she's doing that.
I feel like she's trying. I don't understand. It seems like she is begging for the camera to be on her.
But she keeps walking away from it.
But she's walking away from the camera, which will make the camera follow her. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't really understand the whole, like, Tisha getting in front of Chris' face and demanding things out of Chris. I'm like, y'all not even cool like that. But it is what it is.
Now, Jaylen and Kimmi talk.
Yes.
He is actually going to accept a job offer in Huntsville that was actually more money than the Colorado position.
Nice.
Jaylen shares the conversation he had with Maurice and Marsau, and he felt like Maurice just didn't get it.
Okay.
He was doing a lot of deflecting. And Kimmi acknowledges that Maurice has a hard time accepting his part in it, but there is a payoff to Maurice's approach in the fact that how Jaylen did turn out to be a good adult.
Stop right there. So Maurice gave himself credit for how Jaylen turned out. Kimmi is giving Maurice credit for how Jaylen turned out. Am I hearing that right?
Yes.
Okay, let's keep going.
Jaylen says it did pay off, but it felt more like a mentor trying to train him up to be a man, but not like a father. But at the same time, he doesn't know what it feels like to have a father situation.
Now, you don't know what it's like to have a father situation, so you saying that it don't feel like a father. Okay, I'm going to respect your feelings here, Jaylen, but I'm going to criticize it just a little bit, right? You came into the office and you basically said, like, me, Marsau, and Maurice talked. Cool, right? And I feel like Maurice just didn't get it. Cool. That's fair. That's his feelings, right? Did you mention that he also apologized, though? No, you didn't.
Right.
So now I'm left to think, especially as a viewer, what do you want from Maurice? Maurice, listen here. There's a lot of critiques that we can give on Maurice parenting. There's a lot of critiques we can give on Kimmi's parenting. There's a lot of critiques we can give on Marsau parenting, on everybody's parenting, especially when it's not your child, right? But obviously, you was in a situation to where you did not know your father. You're not close with your father and things of that nature. And guess what? That's something that Kimmi have to basically... That's the reality of Kimmi's situation. You get what I'm saying? The fact that Maurice was brought in to basically be your stepfather. Now, you not feeling the fatherly affection from him, that is 100% on Maurice's account. Maurice got to take accountability for that. While at the same time, you have to take accountability as a man, because I'm only talking to Jaylen as a man, to actually, when you was there in the moment, when he was apologizing to you, and he asked you, do you accept my apology? And you said, yeah. And then after that, you asked for a Lambo. That was your opportunity to speak up and say, do you understand where I'm coming from? But besides, you will accept the apology, but then go to your mama and be like, I don't think he get it. I wouldn't deal with Jaylen no more if it was me, to be honest, because I can't please him.
Yeah.
He's naming everything that a father's supposed to do, but yet calling me a mentor and saying, well, I guess it's not fatherly, or maybe it's a mentor. So with Jaylen, he's already grown. He don't need me that much anyway. I will continue to be that mentor if I was Maurice, to be honest.
Yeah, and the thing that I continue to repeat about this conversation is I think that the emotional piece was lacking from their relationship. There probably was a lot of like direction, discipline, and all of that type of stuff. But when it came to the emotional caring piece, that my father cares about me in that way, it clearly was not there. It wasn't there, to the fact that Kimmi didn't see it either.
Okay.
At least in the way that, I'll just say it wasn't there.
I'm going to challenge that next scene, but go ahead. Keep going.
Okay. But I think that when it comes to Jaylen, I think that what his intention was to be heard and to be understood.
Okay.
And I think that when Maurice talks, he does do a lot of deflecting and reasoning. And I did watch the Carlos King live most recently when they had Maurice on, which was, I felt like, a really good conversation.
It was.
And it shared more about Maurice's upbringing. But even during that conversation, Dustin, Claudia, and Carlos were basically telling him that, actually Dustin specifically asked him in so many words, like, what could you have done better, or what could have improved from the situation. And it wasn't a straight answer as far as saying, like, I could have been there for him. I could have, like, given him the reassurance. I could have been there, like, more emotionally connected. And Maurice explained that he is disconnected from his emotions. And that's something that he is actively trying to work through. And I think that the piece that is missing when Maurice is having these conversations is that this isn't the time for explanation and reasoning. It's the time to meet him where he's at, so that way he can feel heard. And I think that with Jaylen, number one, it doesn't seem like he's very confident in speaking to Maurice about his feelings and actually trying to make himself be heard. To the point that Marsau felt like he had to speak up for Jaylen in the situation. True. So I don't really know what that's about, and why he can't say what he wants to say. But I do think that when it comes to it, that as Maurice says that he's learning, in certain situations, you don't need to prove or explain your point. All you have to do is accept that this is the reality of this person's experience with you. And I think that he did a good job with apologizing, but the reasoning and explaining really kind of like muddles the apology.
I don't think it does, but I agree that that he does need to take accountability for his act. 'Cause if he's not in tune with his feelings, which he says he's not, right, he may genuinely think that, hey, I really do love you the same as Monster. Like, he really feels like he's doing a good thing. He really feels like, hey, I'm hard on you because it worked for me, so I'm trying to train you for this hard world. I don't think him giving a reason and him giving an apology after muddies the apology. I think it actually helps to actually see where Maurice is coming from. But if you're going to have Jaylen try to see where you're coming from, he have to do the due diligence of trying to see where Jaylen's coming from.
But that's the time where it's time for separate conversations.
Maybe.
In this moment, all he needed was an apology. He didn't need an explanation.
Maybe, yeah. But I just find it interesting he did not mention the apology to Kimmi. But we will continue.
Now we move on to Lance and Chris's conversation. Lance isn't sleeping much. He spent a lot of time at their house when the baby was born, and that was a huge adjustment for Chris and Nell as well. He shared that Nell offered to stay a couple of nights at his place, and he wants to know if Chris is okay with that, and Chris gives him a hell no. He doesn't want his wife gone 2 to 3 nights outside of the house, and he asked Lance, would you want your lady gone 2 to 3 nights out the house?
That's true.
And Lance was like, I see what you're saying. Chris tells him, you have to take responsibility for yourself. It was shocking news that you were going to have another baby. Then you and the baby moved in, and it was an earthquake that really knocked things out of place when it came to Chris and Nell's relationship. And their boundaries that they discussed totally got thrown out the window. Lance is in agreement, and Chris tells him, if we always jump in, then how are you going to be able to hold your own as an adult with your responsibilities and the decisions that you've made? Chris recommends that Lance talk to Martel so he can get a better management as far as his time with managing being a father as well as being a business owner.
That last part is muddy as I don't know what. But what is your thoughts on this? Because you wanted to share more things once like we got to this scene right here.
The thing is, I'm totally 100% behind Chris. Chris's priority is his wife. They raised their kids to be adults, to be self-sufficient. And I think that it is wonderful to have parents to be able to go to for help and support. But there does come a time to where they can't come in and swoop in and save you from every single situation, or I wouldn't even say situation, because I think that certain things in life are genuinely out of your control. That's and right. It is helpful to have people there to help pick up the pieces. But specifically when it's a decision that you've made to get with somebody that you're not necessarily serious with, and do it in a way to where a baby could arise. This isn't a situation to where, oh my gosh, it's a catastrophe, we need to jump in and help you. It's a situation to where you need to learn how to manage with this reality of the consequences of your actions. You know, and that's, I think, is the point that I think all of them in the equation understand. But I think that the weight of it for Lance is just like, well, look, if mom is offering to help and she wants to help, that's great. And I think that with mothers, they're willing to overextend themselves for their children a lot of the time. And I appreciate the fact that Chris is trying to protect Nell, and she probably doesn't see it as protection because she wants to help her child in any way that she can. But the way that she felt before about her kids running her dry, it's probably because, especially because Chris was like, I'm not giving them money, I'm not bailing them out, I'm not doing that. But Nell wants to do that because of course she loves them and she doesn't want to see them in a bad way. But Chris is also making the point to be like, they're good, they're grown, they can figure it out, and we need to put our focus on each other and making the rest of our lives what we want it to be. So I think that it's really protection that Chris is giving to Nell to make sure that she doesn't drain herself any more than she already has, and for Lance to be a father in a way that he's never been before,
to be a man,
you know.
And
I think that is, you know, as much as I'm not a fan of Martell, the fact that Martell cares for his kids, he doesn't ever complain about that part, you know, and he does what he needs to do for his children and figures out the situations. I think his mom do be helping him a lot too, though. But that probably is the person you need to talk to, because Chris, in his mind, I was married, I raised kids with my wife. This whole situation about co-parenting and all that type of stuff, you know, of course he knew how the situation was with his oldest daughter, but he had a household to where he had a wife and a partner. Even when he left the first wife to get with Nell, he had a partner to be able to go through life with and to balance these things off of. Chris don't know nothing about this.
In a marriage, Blair, because I actually get to talk about, I had a theory that me and my wife was watching the show, and I was like, should I share it now or should I wait till the show? So now you actually get to hear the theory for the first time. So y'all about to go through the mind of Christopher.
All right.
In a marriage, how important is it to present a united front?
It is important.
Like you would say, probably if you had to go between 0 and 10, you probably say 10 being the most important, right?
10.
I want to combine the first scene with Nell and Lance, combine the next scene with Kimmi and Jaylen, and combine this scene with Chris and Lance. Chris and Maurice is from the same school of hard knocks. They believe in tough love, right? As we saw seasons ago with Chris and his daughter, he told her, you know what, get out. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be respectful, get out, and we haven't seen her since. You get what I'm saying? When it comes down to Chris and when he's talking to Lance is not his son. That's Nell's son, right? But you know what? You know, Lance give him the respect as a father figure and say, you know what? I think you should talk to Chris about staying over here. When Nell was talking to her son in the first scene and basically saying, I can stay here for 2-3 days to help you take care of the kid. And Lance said, I think you should talk to Chris, right? She negated that, threw it to the side and say, I don't need to ask Chris if I need to take care of my kid and his grandkid and things like that. Is that showing a united front? No. I'm happy that Lance is mature enough to actually say, I think you should talk to your husband, because at the end of the day, you are like, I know, like, that's my stepfather, but at the same time, I respect y'all marriage, right? When it comes down the danger of it, which I think a lot of people do it without them knowing, I think Nell in that moment was thinking, this is my son, and I'm going to take care of my son, and I'm going to be there for my son. You get what I'm saying? Oh, I don't care what Chris think. I'm not going to ask Chris. The things that we've been through, cheating and things like that, he may have stepped out, or like I stepped out, whatever it is. If he can't handle this, then it is what it is. That's not a united front. Now, if I go to Jaylen and Kimmi, right? When Jaylen talks about Maurice to Kimmi, I don't know how many times do Kimmi actually say, dude, you know Maurice love you though, right? You know Maurice actually care about you. I think Kimmi does a good job being a sounding board for Jaylen to express his feelings, but at the same time, I wonder how many times does she reiterate, knowing that that's not his father, knowing that, you know what, he probably doesn't know his father, that, hey, you know Maurice love you and you know Maurice cares about you as his own. But all we heard from Kimmi this season so far is, you do love Monster more than him. And I wonder how much conversation does she have with Jaylen about that. So in the meantime, when I look at this right here, when I see Chris and Lance talking to each other about basically, hey, mom talking about coming over for 2-3 days and things like that, Chris like, hell no, that ain't gonna happen, right? And my thing about it that I'm trying to take y'all through this roller coaster of my mind is, whenever there's stepchildren involved, be it that Lance may have grew up with Chris, be it that Jaylen may have grew up with Maurice and things like that, it's also on the actual mothers to actually help kind of forge that relationship between the stepkid and the stepfather.
It is, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I see the respect that Lance have for Chris to the point where he's like, you know what, Dad, and Chris is like, that's my son. Maurice said, that's my son. I see you as my son. And there's something that Jaylen is basically like, I don't feel like a son. And now I'm wondering how much did Kimmi do or help to forge that relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that it's Kimmi's fault.
Can I throw a wrench in there?
Throw a wrench in there.
Lance, I believe, was like younger than 5.
Younger than 5. That's fair. That's fair.
Lance was like younger than 5.
That's fair.
So it's different coming into a child's life when
fair.
They're very young and impressionable versus coming into a 12, 13-year-old's life.
That's 100%. But I'm also...
But I agree with you that the mother should help to forge that relationship. So.
Especially if he's older, like 12, 13.
Even more important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I wonder... Because we saw Nell do it, and I don't think Nell did it without her knowing that she did it. When it came down to her son being in trouble, she didn't view it as our son in trouble. Let me run this by Chris. My son is in trouble. Let me go to my son. When Kimmi and Jaylen's having some type of problem and things like that, that's my son and things like that. Oh yeah, you do view Monster is the golden child. And I'm like, it does help if the mother do forge the relationship. Also, it helps for Maurice's case. Hey, you also got to be accountability for actually meeting Jaylen where he's at, because you are the full adult compared to Jaylen is the new adult. But one thing about Chris is, even though it comes out gentler because Chris is older, he's more mature, this is the same hard knock school that Chris is giving Lance. He's basically saying, no, my wife is not going over there. You need to grow up and take responsibility. You kind of almost broke us up.
But see, the thing is, I really don't know if it is the same, because
I think it's
because Chris said the boundaries have been blown out the water.
Yes.
So we really can't compare it to Maurice, because
we can.
Where have the boundaries been blown out the water for them in relation to their kids?
But it's not. I think you're talking about boundaries, but I think because of the boundaries being blown out the water, he's not bending on, hey, my wife is not going over there.
Okay.
I think the boundaries, I think we get stuck on that word. He's basically like, look, we tried to do it one way.
I'm just saying that Chris has been able to bend for his kids more than we've necessarily seen Maurice be willing to bend to their needs.
Of course. But
emotionally,
of course,
you know what I'm saying. And I think there's a difference in the way that they've approached
I think
it.
so. And I think the only way that Chris is better at it is because he's older. He has more experience in doing it, right?
But
also it's from the same school of hard knocks.
Okay.
It's the same school because it's the thing that Lance said. He said, well, you know, you have family, and if you need help, you call on your family. And Chris is like, no, my wife is not going over there. There comes a point to where you need to grow up and take responsibility as a man and take care of your family.
Right.
That's what was told to Lance by Chris. Even though he may have presented it better, but at the end of the day, he's basically, the point is, my wife's not going over there.
Yeah.
You got to figure out another way. And that's point of it doesn't feel like a dictatorship, but it's coming from the same vein of, hey, I'm not giving you a way out on this. I'm not giving you an escape on this. You got to figure out another way. And I appreciate Chris, and actually I do appreciate Lance for even telling Nell to talk to Chris, even though I don't know if Nell did, but I appreciate this conversation because this is the reality when it comes to actually like two men talking. It's like, hey, I need help. Well, I'm not gonna help you. You need to figure it out.
Yeah.
Especially if he's talking about, hey, last time we helped you with these kids, y'all almost broke us up. You really shook us because we haven't had an infant in here like in over 2 decades. So I appreciate Chris actually keeping his foot down, knowing that Nell wants to help. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So Tisha and Nell meet up. Nell says, you got in my husband's face at the party. You were on 100.
Yeah.
Tisha doesn't think she was on 100, and she doesn't remember getting into Chris's face.
Tisha wore me thin this episode.
Tisha said this is the second time Chris has said something about Marsau, and it was not okay. The first time, she says, was the Atlanta situation when Marsau and Chris went to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And she's talking about how Nell like asked Chris to send her a picture to confirm that he was where he said he was. Yeah. But she never exactly said what Chris said about Marsau during the situation, because we get the flashback, and the flashback was when Tisha was trying to get Marsau to say what friend he went to Atlanta with, and that finally he told her it was Chris. Yeah. But she was stressing out because he didn't want to give her that nugget because according to him, she was stressed out because of what people were saying instead of trusting him. Now, she says, you know, you asked, he said that, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So Tisha then tells Nell that she isn't going to take disrespect. Nell needs to lower her voice. There's too much hollering going on up in this place. And she tells her that if you want to have a conversation, we can, but she's not going to be sitting up here being disrespected. And then Tisha walks off.
What the hell was this scene about?
I
don't know.
That's when I was just thinking to myself, I think Tisha's overwhelmed in a lot of different areas, because I don't think that Nell was yelling. I think that Nell was explaining to Tisha where she was coming from. And also, Tisha, if you can't remember a situation, then you can't say it didn't happen.
You can't defend it.
So why not just apologize for what that person perceived, even though it was the truth? But if you can't remember, then just apologize for it. Is it that hard to say sorry? Yes. I don't know.
For Tisha, yes, 100%. Okay. I don't understand why she's taking on this cross. Marsau seemed cool about it. Well, I guess Marsau is one of the people that's in question as well. But I don't understand why she is basically talking to Nell as if basically trying to gaslight her in some ways, basically trying to make it, because Nell she could come off as aggressive. You know what I'm saying?
And she can be animated and passionate, but it wasn't to that level.
But because that's what we mostly know her for, when she's not being it, I can gaslight you and be like, stop yelling. You get what I'm saying? Because you're used to yelling, you know? Tisha, if you're not coming there, this is what I need to understand about reality TV, which I still don't. If you're not coming there to actually come to some resolve, what's the point of actually meeting to talk to the person?
Yeah, just don't be in the scene.
Like, you went there to basically say, you know what, I'm not doing this with you because I have meetings with my kids' parents at this place, and I'm not doing that. And then you walk off. But you had no resolve. So you went there to basically say, I don't think I was in your husband's face, even though the wife of the husband is saying you was in my husband's face.
And you saying you don't remember.
And you don't remember. And then you went there to tell her stop yelling instead of addressing what she's saying. And then you basically, the third one was, I'm not doing this, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Tisha, what's going on with you this season?
Well, I think that we always know that Tisha has a hard time with accountability.
Yeah. Oh, well.
You know.
Marsau says that.
We know that that's a struggle for her.
Yeah.
And I feel like this really could have been an easy conversation, because all Nell was really trying to focus on is don't be in my husband's face like that. Pretty much. And that is an easy resolve, honestly. But because she feels a way about stuff that Chris has said, she's trying to hold Nell accountable for the things that he has said, when she knows that she can't be held accountable for the things that Marsau has said and done in the past. So it's just, that's what I'm saying. Like, Tisha just appears to be spiraling at the
everywhere.
Moment. Yeah.
It is what it is. Anything else?
That's all I got.
We need you to subscribe, like, share, comment. We see y'all another time.
Bye.